The most common question on these Mark 3 pages are, how do you put a 20 valve in a Mark 3? How hard is it? What's the spec list? We're not going to go through the whole, every single nook and cranny you got to pay for it, but generally the gist of how to put a 20 valve in a Mark 3 Golf. Go.
Money. Just throw money at it. And when you go into your overdraft, keep going. Just throw money at it. Doesn't matter.
Obviously, it's a Mark 4 Golf engine.
Yeah.
That's designed for a Mark 4 Golf. So how do you get it put in a car that's
right? So the
7 years older?
I first started collecting the engine mounts. So the rear engine mount you can get off a 2 litre 8 valve, a TDi, a TD. Quite a lot of the big engine Mark 3s. Then the other 2 engine mounts, they're either off a TDi or a 16 valve AVF. So then you think like, right, I've got the engine mounts, I can put the engine in. Yeah. So then you think, right, now it's in, how am I going to get it, you know, the intercooler set up? So that's why I chose the BAM inlet and the BAM charger pipe, which really makes it easy to fit the front mount intercooler.
Quick side note, BAM is essentially the TT / Cupra, Leon Cupra R, S3, they all use a BAM, and it's essentially because the intercooler setup is a little bit different. The engine that this come off has the intake manifold, it comes this way, which doesn't really suit the intercooler setup for a Mark 3, right?
So then I wanted to get a shifter as well, because the gearbox is from, it's an O2J gearbox, which is the same as the O2A and the O2T, on the outside at least anyway.
Yeah.
And the gear selector isn't the same, because that's the O2O gearbox, so you need to pair that up. So I used the O2T gearbox out of an Audi A3 1.6 TDi.
Yeah.
No one really knows about them. They haven't been scene taxed like all the other O2J shifters, so you get a cheap one. Mine was 15 quid and it had 6,000 miles on. The intercooler is a front mount intercooler. I can't remember the dimensions of it, but a lot of people cut their bumper up to fit, but if you get the right intercooler, you don't have to cut your bumper up really. You cut a little bit off the front bumper on the inside and a little bit off the radiator surround plastic to fit the 90 pipes. Also, you have to have a custom downpipe. And the thing is,
why?
Because
Tell
if
them.
you fit a Mark IV downpipe,
what happens?
Rattle its knackers off. It won't fit very well. It does fit, and if you want to skimp and pay like 60 quid for a Mark IV decat and downpipe, brand new, a 3-inch, it will fit, but it will rattle. And so I brought a custom-made 2.5-inch downpipe, and guess what? It still rattles, so I can't win. I just spent more money. I love the overdraft. Right. So what else?
Wiring.
The wiring, yeah, that's a pain. You got to be careful who you pay and where you go to for wiring. I paid £200, and this was for a completed wiring loom, and it wasn't complete. It was missing. Shout out
I
to
saw
Ben.
it. I in fact, it's probably on a previous vlog.
Yeah, it is.
When we went over to Ben's, because obviously this was in its stage. It didn't have the engine in, and he'd painted all the engine bay yellow. If any of you guys have seen that video, that's what it's been referenced to, because we'd looked at blah 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 blah. When the loom got sent back, like you said, everything, lots of things were incomplete. And
it was just everywhere.
Yeah.
And I paid £200 for that, and I was fuming. And Ben, shout out to Ben, he had to finish it off for me. He's great with wiring. He could make a 20 valve loom now. Guys,
inbox him. He can do all your wiring needs. He's gonna hate me for that.
So then, I think this car would have originally come with an AGU dual mass flywheel, and it did not. It didn't have a flywheel on, so I've used a solid mass flywheel and a clutch, 288 I think the clutch is. It's running now. It's got a stage 1 remap in it. It's fine, not slipping or anything. It's a brand new clutch I put in from Volkswagen. Also the radiator, if you've got a smaller Mark 3 engine, you're not going to have a big radiator. So this is from the 1.9 TDi. It's a dual radiator, or you can get it from a VR6, or if you want one fan, you can get it from a 2-litre 8-valve. But all the other radiators, I think, are smaller.
Right.
And obviously,
You
it's
want
a
more
really
cooling.
hot running engine, and the turbo runs so hot. You're going to want that big radiator.
Yeah.
Luckily, I already had the engine with the big radiator in. In terms of like buying parts, I didn't buy a donor car. I brought the engine first, and then I brought the gearbox, and I tidied it up as I went. Same for the inlet. The gearbox is from a 1.6 Beetle Luna.
That's very random.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And it fits.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Volkswagen is great for saying it fits.
Yeah.
And it gives me a better final drive. You know, getting up the rev range, it flies.
Yeah.
Again, with Volkswagen being so compatible and changing parts, the starter motor is from a Beetle, the new Beetle. The flywheel is from a Mark 5 Golf TDi, just because it's the G60 flywheel.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there's more. Those G60 flywheels are on a lot of Volkswagens, and they're so easy to find. But again, they're steam taxed.
Yeah, crazy price.
A new clutch from Volkswagen with pressure plate.
Have we really covered it all? Essentially.
You can get a lot of
mounts, intercooler pipes. We covered the inlet, the wiring, the ECU. What do we do about the ECU?
The ECU. I got given that. I got lucky. I got a free ECU, but then I've also had to spend like money getting it demobilised.
Yeah. So tell them through the process of that then, if they want to.
Yeah. So the ECU, AGU ECU seem to be they seem to be quite pricey. But if you want to get it demobilised, you're looking about £40 to £50. And then for a remap, Tuning Technics, they're really good. I had my ECU remap with them. If you want a postal remap, you're looking about £100.
Yeah.
And then if you want a day session with Tuning Technics, it's about £300.
That's not bad for a whole day.
I did my research before I jumped into this, and needed a lot of 180 turbos.
Yeah.
On a load of different Volkswagen Seats and etc.
Yeah.
I think we might have covered everything.
Fueling, fuel pump, fuel in.
Your fuel pump. That's a 2-litre 8-valve fuel pump I'm running, and it's fine. I've never had any issues so far. Roll on the issues.
Yeah. You've jinxed it now.
Yeah, and
cable throttle.
Yeah, cable throttle. The AGU is a cable throttle, but all the other 20 valves are not cable throttle as far as I know. Like BAM, you need to do a bit of welding on the pedal box to get to fit properly.
So is that a Mark 4 throttle cable? What's that off?
I think it's a Mark 3 2-litre 8-valve, and then this the 20 valve.
And that bolts straight in.
Body.
Because these people, obviously, a lot of people are going to be asking these questions, are going to know.
Yeah.
Maybe
with the
not done any.
pipe, you have to make this bracket and bend it up a little bit for it to fit, because obviously the BAM inlet doesn't have cable, so you have to make this little bracket here. But the throttle body from the AGU will fit.
Yeah.
That's actually from a 2-litre 8-valve, because the throttle body I had from the AGU broke. But it's, as far as I know, the same, and it runs fine, no problem.
That's why I love these cars so much. What specifically Volkswagens is because everything is so interchangeable. Yeah. I mean, this car, this engine is, I know it's a common thing for newer engines to fit older cars, but the fact that you can swap gearboxes for just about 90% of Mark 4s and Mark 3s, even Mark 2s, to just go straight in, and little bits can fit. Like, this car is literally a mismatch of parts from every other car into it. That's why I love these conversions.
Precise. I've researched it, and I've been careful doing it. I've not just thrown it together. Yeah. Because of, I can only find this, I'm going to put it in. No, I've took my time doing it. It's took about the best part of 2 years to get it all done. Yeah, but you could do it in a lot faster time if you had a bit more money, a bit more, you know, if you had like ramps and motivation and stuff. Obviously, you've took your time with it, haven't you? So you've not really stuck to a time limit. Like, you'll have to do it by this weekend. You've just kind of done it in your time, haven't you? One thing I have remembered is, if you go to the back of the engine here, TDIs, VR6s and 16 valves ABS have the hydraulic clutch, and if you're doing a 20 valve conversion, you'll need to fit a hydraulic clutch. So most Mark 3s, I think early Mark 3s are different. They have the hole cut out here to put the hydraulic part in. And if you're lucky, the later Mark 3s have a hydraulic pedal box there, but without obviously the hydraulic plunger.
Yeah.
So you might be lucky enough to have that already fitted. If you don't, it's a case, and I could be wrong, of taking the clutch, the whole like pedal box out and replacing it with a newer Mark 3 one or a hydro one. But mine had it in. Mine was a P-Reg. It had like the hydraulic bits there, so I could just click it into place. Done. Also depends what gearbox you got. The shift tower, that's from an O2J. That's from a Skoda TDi. That is. They fit straight in. They're all the same if they're from an O2J.
I think we've about covered that, really, haven't we? So price-wise, I'm not asking you to reveal how much you've spent, but how much do you think somebody looking to do this kind of build could look to spend? Not revealing how much you've spent.
It depends if you're, you know, a bit
cheap, budget.
A keen eye, yeah.
Budget build.
So I wouldn't say this was a budget build because, you know, I have spent money on it.
No, I mean if somebody was looking to get a 20 valve in as cheap as possible,
yeah,
as easy as possible, how much would you reckon they would need to spend? Roughly, obviously this is not a...
So, if you took your time and you brought bits over time like I did, I'd probably say, if you wasn't to take, like, and replace all the gaskets and all the little bits like that, and thermostat, oil filter, if you just wanted to put it in and save the parts together, you could probably do it for about between 400 and 600 quid. If you wait over time and save stuff up.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you brought a donor car and you paid like 500 quid for that, you're still going to have to buy bits.
Yeah.
I went to a lot of breakers, like Albert Looms, and I went every weekend pulling stuff off cars. What were good, like the engine mounts. All three of these engine mounts you could easily pay 100, 120 quid for, because they're in demand. There's only, you know, there's not a lot of these engines left, like TDIs and 16 valves, so they're going to fetch a premium. But I just waited every weekend till I found one, and I think I paid about, it was £5 an engine mount.
Nice.
You know, so
yeah,
I've took my time, but I've been looking for bargains over the course of 2 years. So the engine, that was £70.
What? I didn't even know that.
The gearbox was £50.
Jesus Christ. Wow.
The shifter, that was 15.
So
turbo was 40.
£40 for turbo. So in summary, really, if you're smart and you spend enough time on Facebook Marketplace looking for a cheap bargain, or even if you just bought the donor car yourself and braked it for parts to then recoup the money back that you've paid for it, you could do this swap very cheap. I mean, I don't think you're too much money involved into it.
Not really, but I took my time.
Yeah.
And I haven't just plonked it in, I've rebuilt a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I've done that myself, and that's also saved me money. The only thing I didn't do was the remap and the wiring loom.
So people, the question is, how easy is it to swap a 20 valve? It is quite easy. If you have mechanical knowledge, you know, you can remove an engine, you can swap parts, because essentially it's all nuts and bolts. That's literally all you have to see, is it's nuts and bolts. You know, it comes out the same, the new engine comes in the same. Obviously there is a little bit more difficult in terms of intercooler piping and wiring, ECUs, turbos, downpipes and stuff like that, but essentially there's so many build threads, so many YouTube videos on swapping a 20 valve. It is so simple. So literally just spend a little bit of time researching it, because you could do parts lists and all this stuff, but videos tell a much deeper story, especially when people are doing like a start to finish swap. So do your research. Should they do a 20 valve?
If they've got patience and time.
Absolutely.
Hey, what